Have a nice day, teacher. We are the group number 9, and we are going to talk about formality of context. Our group is conformed by Jocelyn Lojan, Anabela Torres, Naomy Valladarez, and my person, Pinzón. So, let's start.
The formality of context. The formality of context is related with the style, that is the way in which the information is delivered from people to another. In speaking and writing, we adjust our style of communication according to a certain kind of context or audience. For example, a note for a friend versus an inside writing, or a discussion with friends versus a committee meeting. In both examples, we change our style of communication and also the use of our vocabulary to the context where we are. Also, the style is related by the choice of vocabulary, as I said before. A more formal context requires formal vocabulary. An informal context includes colloquial vocabulary and slang words, and a very informal context can include taboo vocabulary. So let's see this type of vocabulary.
Now let's see formal words. Formal words are less personal than informal words. They are used when writing for professional or academic purposes, some of which by nature or purpose must be formal, such as university papers or legal texts. A lot of words that we associate with this type of text, like the word here below, here under, whoever, that have an archaic tone, are marked in dictionaries as formal. Also, formal words don't use colloquialisms, contractions, or first-person pronouns, such as I or we. Now, let's see some different examples of formal words. So, some formal words are the precise technical names for ordinary language words. They are usually derived from the classical languages. For example, Occident and Orient, that are both from Latin, are the formal terms for West and East. Carnivore and herbivore from Latin are the formal terms for meat-eater and plant-eater. Same for toxophilite, that is from Greek, is the formal of an archer. Similarly, horticulture, that is from Latin, is the formal term for gardening. Then, words that have been formed by abbreviation may have their unabbreviated form as a formal equivalent. For example, the word omnibus is the formal equivalent for bus. Perambulator is the formal for pram, refrigerator for fridge, zoological garden for zoo. And finally, a formal word may be a means of speaking appropriately about bodily functions and other matters that are not normally mentioned in public. The formal word helps because it has a distancing and euphemistic effect, such as demise or disease for death, copulation, that it can be for sexual intercourse, defecate for pass a motion or shit.
Now let's talk in a different context. It is an informal context. That is when talking to a trusted person or a close person like a sibling or friend. Well, for this, there are words marked in dictionaries as colloquial or informal and as slang, in which slang words are often used in more informal context. Although the reason for this is not always clear. For instance, bellyache as a noun meaning stomach pain. It is marked as colloquial, while the verb meaning complain is marked as slang. Booze meaning alcoholic drink. It's colloquial, but booze up is slang. The colloquial category includes words that are abbreviated for informal effect. For example, Vicky for biscuit, celeb for celebrity, champ for champion, choc for chocolate, and so on. Similar idioms involve coalescence and abbreviation. For example, copa for cup of tea, do know for the know. Other colloquial words have no obvious motivation for their informality. For example, we have a big week for important person, or both for person, and so on. Now, the words that are marked as slang are in part everyday idioms that have perhaps not yet reached wide enough acceptance to be labeled clothing. For example, the words ace and awesome both meaning excellent, bush, party, buzzard, or catchword. Other slang words are on the way to becoming taboo, that we are going to see it in the next slide. For example, both for lavatory, both for nasal mucus, boob for breast, boom for buttocks. But the majority of slang words are slang because they are used in contexts that are very informal between people who know each other well.
So I'm going to explain about taboo words. So the concise Oxford Dictionary says there are two meanings for these words. The first one is that it's a system or the act of setting a person or thing apart as sacred, prohibited, or accursed. The other one is that it's a provision or restriction imposed on certain behavior, word usage, etc. by social custom. Also, taboo subjects or words may often be of a religious or cultural nature. For example, a man may be prohibited from mentioning certain things associated with women. But in lexicology, the label taboo is usually applied to words that would be extremely offensive if spoken in most contexts. So, taboo words in English are largely concerned with non-technical words for parts of the human anatomy associated with sex and excretion and for the act of sexual intercourse. And also, many dictionaries no longer use the label taboo, but they use the word vulgar and coarse slang. So that's everything for our presentation. Thank you so much for your attention.